Konbanwa, this is Linda reporting from her kitchen. We are back with another stream. We apologize that it's been a few days, several days, perhaps even a week or more since we last streamed. But we are back again for Chapter 6 of A Wrinkle in Time. Tonight, Emily is making pork katsu with rice and vegetables. I trust it will be delicious. We're just waiting for Emily to get back from the bathroom, and we'll get started.
I didn't realize you were going to start when I was still in the bathroom.
It's okay, I had a bit planned.
Oh, good.
No one's watching, so it's okay. All right. Shall we jump right in? Because I already announced what you're making.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'll kind of forget even what was happening. They're going to their dad.
Yeah, they're going to go help him or something.
Because he's on a planet that has given in, so you must prepare to be very strong.
To his shadow. The darkness or whatever it is.
Yeah. Oh, because they're with the medium. I can't stand it any longer, she sobbed. Watch now, children, watch, is the very end of the previous chapter. Oh no, these brioche hot dog buns are ruining the shot.
Oh no.
Okay, how's that?
Fine, probably.
Chapter 6, The Happy Medium. Again, they focused their eyes on the crystal ball. The earth, with its fearful covering of dark shadows, swam out of view, and they moved rapidly through the Milky Way. And there was the thing again. Watch, the medium told them. The darkness seemed to settle and writhe. Oh no, I'm sorry. The darkness seemed to seethe and writhe. Was this meant to comfort them? Suddenly, there was a great burst of light through the darkness. The light spread out, and where it touched the darkness disappeared. The light spread until the patch of dark thing had vanished, and there was only a gentle shining. And through the shining came the stars, clear and pure. Then slowly the shining dwindled until it too was gone, and there was nothing but stars and starlight. No shadows, no fear. Only the stars and the clear darkness of space, quite different from the fearful darkness of the thing. You see, the medium cried, smiling happily. It can be overcome. It is being overcome all the time. Mrs. Whatsit sighed, a sigh so sad that Meg wanted to put her arms around her and comfort her. Tell us exactly what happened then, please, Charles Wallace said in a small voice. It was a star. Wait, is Mrs. Whatsit back in her old lady?
I think so.
Okay. It was a star, Mrs. Whatsit said sadly. A star giving up its life in battle with the thing. It won, oh yes, my children, it won, but it lost its life in the winning. The star lost its life?
I suppose.
Mrs. Witch spoke again. Wait, so that's what that light was just now. Right?
It's not that I wasn't paying attention, but I'm like, which light?
The light, suddenly there was a great burst of light through the darkness. The light spread out, and where it touched the darkness disappeared.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the star, maybe supernova-ing.
Mm-hmm.
Or something.
Yes, astronomy.
Mm-hmm.
We're very smart and knowledgeable in this household about astronomy and such. Mrs. Witch spoke again. Her voice sounded tired, and they knew that speaking was a tremendous effort for her. It was not so long ago for you, was it? She asked gently. Mrs. Whatsit shook her head. I realized that the very first time I did Mrs. Witch's voice was at it was one line at the end of a chapter, and I did it in kind of like a Russian accent, or it was rolling my R's, and I haven't been doing that. So Sorry for the inconsistency. Charles Wallace went up to Mrs. Whatsit. I see. Now I understand. You were a star once, weren't you? Mrs. Whatsit covered her face with her hands as though she were embarrassed and nodded. And you did what that star just did? With her face still covered, Mrs. Whatsit nodded again. Charles Wallace looked at her very solemnly. I should like to kiss you. Mrs. Whatsit took her hands down from her face and pulled Charles Wallace to her in a quick embrace. He put his arms about her neck, pressed his cheek against hers, and then kissed her. Meg felt that she would have liked to kiss Mrs. Whatsit too, but that after Charles Wallace, anything that she or Calvin did or said would be an anticlimax. She contented herself with looking at Mrs. Whatsit. Even though she was used to Mrs. Whatsit's odd get-up, and the very oddness of it was what made her seem so comforting. She realized with a fresh shock that it was not Mrs. Whatsit herself that she was seeing at all. The true Mrs. Whatsit, Meg realized, was beyond human understanding. What she saw was only the game Mrs. Whatsit was playing. It was an amusing and charming game, a game full of both laughter and comfort, but it was only the tiniest facet of all the things Mrs. Whatsit could be. I didn't mean to tell you, Mrs. Whatsit faltered. I didn't mean ever to let you know, but, oh, my dears, I did so love being a star. You are still very young, Mrs. Witch said, her voice faintly chiding. The medium sat looking happily at the star-filled sky in her ball, smiling and nodding and chuckling gently. But Meg noticed that her eyes were drooping, and suddenly her head fell forward and she gave a faint snore. Poor thing, Mrs. Whatsit said. We have worn her out. It's very hard work for her. Please, Mrs. Whatsit, Meg asked, what happens now? Why are we here? What do we do next? Where is father? When are we going to him? She clasped her hands pleadingly. One thing at a time, love, Mrs. Whatsit said. Mrs. Who cut in. Os paredes tem ouvidos. Oh. That's Portuguese. Walls have ears. I think it should be As paredes têm ouvidos. But she probably doesn't know how to really pronounce it properly. Or probably she does, but I haven't been doing it very properly.
I'm not too worried about it. I'm a person not worried about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the only person listening.
Yes, let's go outside, Mrs. Whatsit said. Come, we'll let her sleep. But as they turned to go, the medium jerked her head up and smiled at them radiantly. You weren't going to go without saying goodbye to me, were you? She asked. We thought we'd just let you sleep, dear, Mrs. Whatsit patted the medium's shoulder. We worked you terribly hard, and we know you must be very tired. But I was going to give you some ambrosia or nectar, or at least some tea. At this, Meg realized that she was hungry. How much time had passed since they had had their bowls of stew, she wondered. But Mrs. Whatsit said, Oh, thank you, dear, but I think we'd better be going. They don't need to eat, you know, Charles Wallace whispered to Meg. At least not food the way we do. Eating's just a game with them. As soon as we get organized again, I'd better remind them that they'll have to feed us sooner or later. The medium smiled and nodded. It does seem as though I should be able to do something nice for you after having had to show those poor children such horrid things. Would they like to see their mother before they go? Could we see father? Meg asked eagerly. No, Mrs. Witch said. We are going to your father, Meg. Do not be impatient. But she could see her mother, couldn't she? The medium wheedled. Oh, why not? Mrs. Whatsit put in. It won't take long, and it can't do any harm. And Calvin, too? Meg asked. Could he see his mother, too? Calvin touched Meg in a quick gesture, and whether it was of thanks or apprehension, she was not sure. I think it is a mistake, Mrs. Witch was disapproving. But since you have mentioned it, I suppose you must go ahead. I hate it when she gets cross, Mrs. Whatsit said, glancing over at Mrs. Witch. And the trouble is, she always seems to be right, but I really don't see how it could hurt, and it might make you all feel better. Go on, medium dear. The medium, smiling and humming softly, turned the crystal ball a little between her hands. Stars, comets, planets flashed across the sky. Oh, stars, comets, planets. I don't know if there should be a comma there.
You don't have to worry about it.
Mm-hmm. And then the earth came into view again, the darkened earth, closer, closer, till it filled the globe, and they had somehow gone through the darkness until the soft white of clouds and the gentle outline of continents shone clearly. Calvin's mother first, Meg whispered to the medium. The globe became hazy, cloudy, then shadows began to solidify, to clarify, and they were looking into an untidy kitchen with a sink full of unwashed dishes. In front of the sink stood an unkempt woman with gray hair stringing about her face. Her mouth was open, and Meg could see the toothless gums, and it seemed that she could almost hear her screaming at two small children who were standing by her. Then she grabbed a long wooden spoon from the sink and began whacking one of the children. Oh dear, the medium murmured, and the picture began to dissolve. I didn't really. It's all right, Calvin said in a low voice. I think I'd rather you knew. Now, instead of reaching out to Calvin for safety, Meg took his hand in hers, not saying anything in words, but trying to tell him by the pressure of her fingers what she felt. If anyone had told her only the day before that she, Meg, the snaggletooth, the myopic, the clumsy, would be taking a boy's hand to offer him comfort and strength, particularly a popular and important boy like Calvin, the idea would have been beyond her comprehension. But now it seemed as natural to want to help and protect Calvin as it did Charles Wallace. The shadows were swirling in the crystal again, and as they cleared, Meg began to recognize her mother's lab at home. Mrs. Murray was sitting perched on her high stool, writing away at a sheet of paper on a clipboard on her lap. She's writing father, Meg thought, the way she always does, every night. The tears that she could never learn to control swam to her eyes as she watched. Mrs. Murray looked up from her letter, almost as though she were looking toward the children, and then her head dropped and she put it down on the paper, and sat there, huddled up, letting herself relax into an unhappiness that she never allowed her children to see. And now the desire for tears left Meg. The hot, protective anger she had felt for Calvin when she looked into his home, she now felt turned toward her mother. Let's go, she cried harshly. Let's do something. She's always so right, Mrs. Whatsit murmured, looking toward Mrs. Witch. Sometimes I wish she'd just say I told you so and have done with it. I only meant to help, the medium wailed. Oh, medium dear, don't feel bad, Mrs. Whatsit said swiftly. Look at something cheerful. Do. I can't bear to have you distressed. It's all right, Meg assured the medium earnestly. Truly it is, Mrs. Medium, and we thank you very much. Are you sure? The medium asked, brightening. Of course, it really helped me ever so much because it made me mad, and when I'm mad I don't have room to be scared. Well, kiss me goodbye for good luck, then, the medium said. Meg went over to her and gave her a quick kiss, and so did Charles Wallace. The medium looked smilingly at Calvin and winked. I want the young man to kiss me, too. I always did love red hair, and it'll give you good luck, laddie me love. She's not Irish, is she?
No.
Calvin bent down, blushing, and awkwardly kissed her cheek. The medium tweaked his nose. You've got a lot to learn, my boy, she told him. Now, goodbye, medium dear, and many thanks, Mrs. Whatsit said. I dare say we'll see you in an eon or two. Where are you going in case I want to tune in? The medium asked. Kamazotz, Mrs. Whatsit told her. Where and what was Kamazotz? Meg did not like the sound of the word or the way in which Mrs. Whatsit pronounced it. But please don't distress yourself on our behalf. You know you don't like looking in on the dark planets, and it's very upsetting to us when you aren't happy. But I must know what happens to the children, the medium said. It's my worst trouble, getting fond. If I didn't get fond, I could be happy all the time. Oh, well, ho-hum, I managed to keep pretty jolly, and a little snooze will do wonders for me right now. Goodbye, everybody. And her word got lost in the general bzzz of a snore. Come, Mrs. Witch ordered, and they followed her out of the darkness of the cave to the impersonal grayness of the medium's planet. Now, children, you must not be frightened at what is going to happen, Mrs. Witch warned. Stay angry, little Meg, Mrs. Whatsit whispered. You will need all your anger now. Without warning, Meg was swept into nothingness again. This time the nothingness was interrupted by a feeling of clammy coldness such as she had never felt before. The coldness deepened and swirled all about her, and through her, and was filled with a new and strange kind of darkness that was a completely tangible thing, a thing that wanted to eat and digest her like some enormous malignant beast of prey. Then the darkness was gone. Had it been the shadow? Had it been the shadow, the black thing? Had they had to travel through it to get to her father? There was the by now familiar tingling in her hands and feet, and the push through hardness, and she was on her feet, breathing breathless but unharmed, standing beside Calvin and Charles Wallace. "Is this Camazot's?" Charles Wallace asked as Mrs. Whatsit materialized in front of him. "Yes," she answered. "Now let us just stand and get our breath and look around." They were standing on a hill, and as Meg looked about her, she felt that it could easily be a hill on earth. There were the familiar trees she knew so well at home, birches, pines, maples, and though it was warmer than it had been when they so precipitously left the apple orchard, there was a faintly autumnal touch to the air. Near them were several small trees with reddened leaves very like sumac. Sumac?
Sumac, yeah, sure.
Sumac. And a big
Sumac, sure.
and a big patch of goldenrod-like flowers. As she looked down the hill, she could see the smokestacks of a town, and it might have been one of any number of familiar towns. There seemed to be nothing strange or different or frightening in the landscape. But Mrs. Whatsit came to her and put an arm around her comfortingly. I can't stay with you here, you know, love," she said. "You 3 children will be on your own. We will be near you, we will be watching you, but you will not be able to see us or to ask us for help, and we will not be able to come to you." "But is father here?" Meg asked tremblingly. "Yes." "But where? When will we see him?" She was poised for running, as though she were going to sprint off immediately to wherever her father was. "That I cannot tell you. You will just have to wait until the propitious moment." Good catch. I think the book might have been blocking it. Sorry. She did catch it. She's good at catching things.
Thanks. That's the second time I've caught something this evening.
Oh, nice.
I forget what the first thing was.
Oh, so this is my sweater.
Yeah, I don't care about Harry Potter. Sweatshirt.
Propitious moment. Charles Wallace looked steadily at Mrs. Whatsit. "Are you afraid for us?" "A little. But if you weren't afraid to do what you did when you were a star, why should you be afraid? But if you weren't afraid to do what you did when you were a star, why should you be afraid for us now?" "But I was afraid," Mrs. Whatsit said gently. She looked steadily at each of the 3 children in turn. "You will need help," she told them, "but all I am allowed to give you is a little talisman. Calvin, your great gift is your ability to communicate with all kinds of people. So, for you, I will strengthen this gift. Meg, I give you your faults." "My faults!" Meg cried. "Your faults. But I'm always trying to get rid of my faults." "Yes," Mrs. Whatsit said.
My. I think carrot went into there. We'll get it later.
Into the little gap?
Into the washer.
Oh, okay. "Yes," Mrs. Whatsit said. "However, I think you'll find they'll come in very handy on Camazot's. Charles Wallace, to you I can give only the resilience of your childhood." From somewhere, Mrs. Hugh's glasses glimmered, and they heard her voice. "Calvin," she said, "a hint. For you a hint. Listen well. For that he was a spirit too delicate to act their earthly and abhorred commands, refusing their grand tests, they did confine him, by help of their most potent ministers, and in their most unmitigable rage, into a cloven pine, within which rift imprisoned he didst painfully remain." Shakespeare, The Tempest. "Where are you, Mrs. Who?" Charles Wallace asked. "Where is Mrs. Which?" "We cannot..." I forget how to do Mrs. Who's voice.
She's just kind of lofty.
Yeah. What's that?
It's just some water for the rice.
Mm-hmm. "We cannot come to you now." Mrs. Who's voice blew to them like the wind. "Allwissend bin ich nicht, doch will ist mir bewusst. Götter, I do not know everything. Still many things I understand. That is..."
Just the rice. Doesn't sound too fluffy.
"That is for you, Charles. Remember that you do not know everything." Then the voice was directed to Meg. "To you..." Wait. Is this still Mrs. Who, right?
Yeah.
To you I leave my glasses, little blind as a bat, but do not use them except as a last resort. Save them for the final moment of peril. As she spoke, there was another shimmer of spectacles, and then it was gone, and the voice faded out with it. The spectacles were in Meg's hand. She put them carefully into the breast pocket of her blazer, and the knowledge that they were there somehow made her a little less afraid. To all three of you, I give my command, Mrs. Witch said. Go down into the town. Go together. Do not let them separate you. Be strong. There was a flicker, and then it vanished. Meg shivered. Mrs. Whatsit must have seen the shiver, for she patted Meg on the shoulder. Then she turned to Calvin. Take care of Meg. I can take care of Meg, Charles Wallace said rather sharply. I always have. Mrs. Whatsit looked at Charles Wallace, and the creaky voice seemed somehow both to soften and to deepen at the same time. Charles Wallace, the danger here is the greatest for you. Why? Because of what you are. Just exactly because of what you are. You will be by far the most vulnerable. You must stay with Meg and Calvin. You must not go off on your own. Beware of pride and arrogance, Charles, for they may betray you. At the tone of Mrs. Whatsit's voice, both warning and frightening, Meg shivered again, and Charles Wallace butted up against Mrs. Whatsit in the way he often did with his mother, whispering, Now I think I know what you meant about being afraid. Dang. Only a fool is not afraid, Mrs. Whatsit told him. Now go. And where she had been, there was only sky and grass and a small rock. Come on, Meg said impatiently. Come on, let's go. She was completely unaware that her voice was trembling like an aspen leaf. She took Charles Wallace and Calvin each by the hand and started down the hill. Page break. This is a pretty long chapter.
Mm-hmm. How much more is there?
Well, we're on page 124 and it ends on page 137.
Wow.
Yeah, and we've already read we started on page 110.
Wow. Should we do a part 2? Because I'm about to maybe want to turn on the fan.
Okay, yeah, maybe. Well, this is like a normal length through the video anyway, so.
Wow. Long chapter.
Yeah, well, it sounds like stuff's happening.
Yeah.
It's all going down. So, thank you for listening.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for reading to me.
You're welcome. Thanks for cooking for
Oh,
us.
yeah. Well, I haven't started cooking yet, actually, but...
Well, you're doing a lot of work. It seems
a lot of prep, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah. And it's good to turn on the fan.
Mm-hmm. All right. We'll see you next time.